be here, to be welcome, to share my story. I think I've shared my story once before at the old place, and that was quite a privilege as well. I'd just like to say my name's Robert. I'm from Glasgow. I'm 60 years of age. I was in heroin addiction for, I was here 30 years, and other substance abuse for 7 years. I grew up in Maryhill in a family of 6. My mum and father were kind of alcoholics, so kind of a near role model. And it was quite a violent home. Like my dad would kind of break my mother's, break her jaw, break her nose, and that was kind of on a regular basis. And so I was sexually abused when I was 6, sexually abused when I was 10. So I used to go to school traumatised. I couldn't function as a kid. And I was thinking last night, it says in 1 Samuel 15, it says rebellion is a sin of witchcraft. And it says in Ephesians 2, the spirit who now works in the son of disobedience. And I learned from an early age that I was a rebellious kid, and I was a disobedient kid. From my early age of 4, I could remember being very disobedient. Then I'd say to go to 10, then rebellion kicked in. Because I'd be a role model, I was never loved, I was never accepted. All I'd known all my life was rejection, insecurity, isolation. And all I was looking for was love, for acceptance, to be accepted by, but it was the wrong crowd that got in me, so I found acceptance. I never found love in there, you know what I mean? I just found acceptance. And I grew up doing all the wrong things, because when you're in that kind of in an environment, it's all the same people, you're just doing the same things as they're doing. I'm saying that's from my early, I would say, I wasn't really looking for sniffing glue, dry cleaner, acid, dope. I wasn't looking for stuff like that with LSD. That was just the environment that I was in, and that's became the environment. So to fit in, I started sniffing glue, started taking mushrooms, started taking LSD, started taking marijuana, and so then that escalated to the age of 15 when my first hit of heroin. I wasn't even looking for that either. I was walking up the street one day, and somebody was shouting at the window, one of my so-called friends come up, so I went up, and they were all sitting in the house shooting up heroin. He said, do you want it? But I says, no. He says, are you scared? I says, no. He says, we'll take it, but so just to fit in again. That was my first hit. Then kind of kind of a couple of months later, then had another one, then another one, then another one. Then it was 2 days a week, 3 days a week, 4 days a week, 5 days a week, kind of how it says, whatever you present yourself to, you become a slave to. So you end up becoming a slave to sin. But in the world it was called a slave to addiction, you know what I mean? I was a drug addict, a heroin addict, a scumbag, you used all these labels and all these names, and added to the shame that you already had, you know what I mean? So I was kind of traumatised. I don't know many times I've been traumatised as a kid, honestly, even as grown up as well, with the kind of the baggage that came with it. And I'd like to take you back when I was 10. My mum went to church one night, and she came back different. For that night, all the doings and the house stopped. My dad never hit my mum again after that. So there must have been a barrier that God put in the middle. Because it was always constant. It was always constant. And that night it stopped. So I went to church when I was 10, and I heard the pastor preaching about the cross. Jesus dying on the cross for somebody like me before you're 10. And accepted Jesus into my life at 10. And I believe that's why I'm still standing here today. I don't even think I've overdosed time and time and time and time and time and time and time again. And by that, by statistics, I should have been standing here. So we'll skip forward to jumping jacks. I started going to play some jumping jacks, which is an outreach in Maryhill, and I kind of went to Teen Challenge, and I'll tell you, I went to the Haven 31 years ago to try and do it wasn't called the Haven, to call it like that we use. I had any name at all, and I only stayed there 4 weeks because I couldn't get to sleep. So my mum took me home, she gave me 2 scriptures. I think it was Psalm 4 verse 7, I'll quote it again, but I don't know one of it. And Proverbs 3:23. So when I went back to the Haven, I started quoting these Bible verses, and I would lie down and sleep in peace for your Lord, and I didn't get to sleep for some reason. And so I left, and so I went back into Teen Challenge in 2015, no, I tell you, 2009. I got to phase 2, so I thought I'd done phase 3, but it had to been productive to get to phase 3, so because I didn't get to phase 3 I left. It says that pride comes before destruction, a haughty spirit before a fall, so that cost me 6 years. Go back to 1999, when I went, so I know where I go, because I'd kind of, I was meant to go there for 5 years. I made one wrong choice, that cost me 6 years. So that was 2 choices wrong, and that was because of my pride. I wouldn't deal with my pride. I thought they were in the ring, but it was me who was in the ring, because I wouldn't humble myself. So fast forward to 2015, I went to Sonny Bray in Teen Challenge, and I've never accomplished anything. Never accomplished anything. I was 50 when I went there. It's going to rehab when you're 50, you feel like an old man. You saw young boys with it like 22, 21, 23, and you've got young boys at 22 and 23 telling you about today, and you're 50, you're going, I still had problems with authority and rebellion all my life. I hated the police, I hated my ma, I hated my dad, I hated school teachers, I hated myself, even hated the community that I was brought up in, because there was nothing good in it, was just damage and mess all around about you. There's nothing. There's boys were looking to, oh, he's a drug dealer, I want to be like him, he's got a flashy car, he's got a crack house. That was your only role model. There was no role models of looking drugs in Glasgow. So I went to Teen Challenge in 2015, and that was the hardest thing I'd ever done in my life, was to face me, to face the man that I'd become, which was kind of a heart-wrenching at times. And but it was home truths. Sometimes the truth, if somebody tells you the truth, sometimes it's hard to swallow. And so kind of a lot of the guys used to come up and say to me, how can you take that? I said, because I can, I need to tell you, everywhere else to go. Jesus, the Bible says, this is a hard saying, where else can we go? He says, you alone have the words of eternal life, where else can we go? So where else could I go? So I stuck it out, and that was the first thing I'd accomplished in my life. I got a certificate, just a certificate, that's all it was, but it was nothing. The certificate was nothing. Doing the programme was essential, so it gave me the tools for life. So from there I went to the Haven for a year, and I stayed on at Teen Challenge. I finished my programme, went to the Haven in Kilmacombe. So they demoted me. They put me on to phase 3, took my phone off me, took my money off me. Back at about that year, I finished the programme. Gave my phone back, gave my money back. I just submitted to it, because I'd learned. Gordon just went, go and say something like, observe and serve, that's what it says, observe and serve. So I just gave him the phone, gave him the money, put him into Shalom for another 4 months or something. So it was like an extension of the programme. So I kind of had done that. I thought I wanted to be a staff member, but God led me down another path. So after I finished that, I went to Horizon Life. And everywhere God's led me, I'm not just saying that, it's been Psalm 46 verse 10 is like, be still and know that I am God. Everywhere God has led me. And Ross kind of prayed about last night at the prayer meeting as well. And so I went into Horizon Life, and I went to college, and I done a diploma level 2 of Florida Multi-Island, and that's the second thing I'd accomplished in my life. It's a certificate, but you've got something. Most addicts that are in addiction, when they commit addiction, they've got nothing to fall back on. So the fall back on is what they know. That's why drug statistics are so high. It's like anything, if you've got nothing to go back to, you just go back as a dog is back to his vomit, if you know what I mean, that kind of a thing. And so I finished that, so I ended up getting Thailand for 6 months. So that kind of, then COVID came in, COVID kicked in, so that kind of closed a lot of doors because of face masks, because of germs and all that. So I ended up getting a job as a CNSE machine operator. That was the first job I'd ever had in my life. But I'd gone to college with a real job because you were just learning your trade. So that was the first, so that was a lot of firsts, if you know what I mean, in my life as a man. I was like 54 then, 55 then, and getting a job at 55, then I get a job as a support worker. That was my second job at 55. That was quite good. I worked with people with cerebral palsy, people with severe handicaps, and to think a way back, deep in the madness, then you kind of see through God's crystal ball into the future. Can you see yourself helping people, hurting people, people like yourself, people like me who were broken, ashamed, abused, rejected, despised? Well, Jesus is well, despised as well in many areas. And so I worked at that, and I got a lovely wee flat. Then I brought one of my pals, so-called pals, I thought he was a good friend, but he was an enemy really. So I brought him down, and he stayed with me for 8 years. Not 8 years, 4 years. So I moved back up to Glasgow, and that's where I got the job as a support worker. So my boss phoned me up and says there's a position here again. So I moved back down to Harrogate. But he'd already had a flat, he'd a better flat than mine, so I moved into his flat. So we just split the rent and split the council tax and all that, and the messages and whatever. And so one day I walked into the room and I seen him throwing something into the drawer. It's called a tutor. You don't know what a tutor is. It's like when you smoke heroin. It's a tutor, right? You kind of run it and you burn it, and the tutor thing sucks the smoke up. So I seen him throwing it, but I never says anything. And a couple of days later I walked into the room and I caught him sitting down. So I was like, I'm moving out. So I moved it for a month. We took him down to rehab. He lasted 2 days, he was back up again. So I got a script at the doctor. I'd been close to the youth by that time, right? And there was nothing going on. Somebody says there must have been something going on in your life at that time, Robert, because I went in one day and he was sitting down and I says, Geezer, but see if the shoe was another thing, he says that to me, and he says, beat it, you've been clean for a year, you're daft, what are you talking about, you landed about his well that year. But that showed me the kind of friend he was. And so I started using just here and there, not too much, but then the more you do that here and there, then it escalates into more. So one of the guys got that, you're losing weight, Rob. I said, I'm on a diet. Doing this and going to the gym, just the lying, that just all comes part and parcel with that as well. And so I ended up deciding to give a job up because I was falling into my addiction again. I couldn't tell my daughter, I couldn't tell my girlfriend, I couldn't tell my sister, I just lied to everybody, deceived them again. And so I came up to Glasgow and I started sofa surfing. I stayed with my daughters for 2 weeks and I was outside the close to have a burn. Came back in and I put it behind the pillar and she's got up in the morning, she's picked it up in front of her. And she's put it back something after I didn't think she'd found it. And so I went away back out and got a Kit Kat, a fresh Kit Kat. Took the one I had and put it in my pocket, took the fresh Kit Kat off and put it behind my pillar. Because I knew something, I seen something that moved, so I went, she might have done that, do you know what I mean? So I took the Kit Kat out and I opened it, I said, there's nothing in that. She went, Dad, don't treat me like a dafty. She went, I seen what was in it. She goes, you can't stay here anymore. And see, since that incident, I've only spoke to my daughter once in an hour and 2 years for that incident.
Right.
And she only stays 5 minutes from the corner. So I know that had a profound effect on her. She's seen her dad like that, her dad's kind of like this, you know what I mean? That must have been a drastic shock to her. Correspond, promises, false promises, she doesn't, she'll say, aye Dad, we'll go to the gym, we'll do this, but she never does nothing. And so as I said, I sofa surfed, ended up in my nieces still using, depressed, lonely, sad, shame, guilt, riddled with it. Then I went to the Chanel. I'm blaming God for all this. Why have you brought me here? And I'm sitting thinking, oh God, did they bring me your choice, he brought you here? And I was lying on the bed, and all of a sudden, the love of God came out of the tank. Living in deep sin. And yet God's love just washes over you. And that's where the change started coming in. I prayed God to bring somebody in to help me. So God brought Stevie. So I started going to church, started gradually, bit by bit. I was going to wee church up the back of Jumping Jack for about 6 months. Went to the Wars of Campsie, gone to local churches round about there. Then I eventually got my own house in Maryhill. And so, you can say I've been clean for nearly 16 months. It's just a long time for me for the place where I came to. And just another minute on. And I work at, not work, I volunteer in a wee place called The Hub. That's kind of a similar to jumping jacks. That's just kind of an outreach to kind of people, not like myself because I'm no longer like that, if you know what I mean. Reach out to people who are broken, sad, lonely. Even just kind of lying and sitting next to somebody. Become all things to old men, because most people just walk by them looking despised, spit on them, kick them, and it's not very nice. They're meant to be a light in the dark world, and there's someone there, you know what I mean? So that's just a short story, do you know what I mean? So I just thank for listening, and just ending your family who's suffering from addiction. I had a praying mother, and I believe that through the prayers of my mother, I had a praying pastor, I had a praying church. So I always pray for the children. It's God's timing. I just say that last thing I'll say is, my dad was an atheist. My mum prayed for my dad for 35 years. You think it's going to happen like that? Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it does happen. It doesn't always happen. It's always a process. And 3 months before my dad died, I gave his heart to Jesus. Never give up.